Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Buckle up, because today we're taking a wild ride through the biggest, boldest, and most jaw-dropping mega projects happening right now in Kenya as of July 2025. Kenya's population is booming. Nairobi is bursting at the seams. Energy demand is off the charts. Water needs are growing every day. And don't even get us started on traffic. These infrastructure projects are the engine behind Kenya's push toward becoming a middle-income country, unlocking new opportunities, connecting remote regions, creating jobs, and laying the foundation for generations to come. In 2025, Kenya is in full transformation mode. It's not just about movement, it's about momentum. So without further ado, let's get started. 6. Makupa, Jomvu dual carriageway. Let's start on the Kenyan coast. The Makupa, Jomvu dual carriageway is a radical upgrade to the critical artery linking Mombasa Island and the mainland. This 11-kilometer highway is being widened into a 6-lane dual carriageway, complete with service lanes, sidewalks, street lighting, and interchanges. When finished, this corridor will slice through traffic jams, improve freight movement from the port, and slash travel time to the Mombasa GDP engines. Although the government hasn't published an official budget figure, local reporting and contractor disclosures point to multi-billion shilling investments, likely in the range of 30 to 50 billion Kenyan shillings. The contractor is the China Road and Bridge Corporation, CRBC, the same firm behind the expressway and other major PPP transport deals. The financing is a public-private partnership between Kenya and CRBC, with Kenya guaranteeing returns over a multi-decade toll concession. 5. Mombasa Port Phase 2 Expansion, Second Container Terminal. This mega project is part of Mombasa Port's long-term strategy to handle rising cargo volumes. Phase 2, the second container terminal, officially opened in June 2022 at about 450,000 TEU capacity, bringing the port's annual handling capability to about 2.1 million TEUs. The Kenya Ports Authority, KPA, is now working on Phase 3, targeting over 2.5 million TEUs by 2030. Phase 2 cost roughly $450 million, in the ballpark of 45 Kenyan shillings 55 billion, financed through a mix of government funding, China EXIM bank loans, and local revenue. The contractor was a consortium led by China Communications Construction Company, CCCC/CRBC, and it included dredging, deepening berths, installing ship-to-shore gantry cranes, container yards, and new road access. The expansion isn't just about handling more containers, it's about transforming Mombasa into a future logistics hub for East and Central Africa. 4. Talanta Sports Stadium, Talanta Sports City. Moving inland to Nairobi, Talanta Sports Stadium is a bold leap in Kenya's sporting infrastructure. Started in March 2024 at Jamhuri grounds along Ngong Road, this mega venue is designed to host 60,000 fans, rivaling Kasarani Stadium, at a cost of 44.7 billion Kenyan shillings, is almost equal to US $250 million. The government unveiled that only about 2 billion Kenyan shillings has been disbursed so far, around 5% of the budget, while 37% of the physical work is complete by April 2025. The contract is with CRBC under a PPP arrangement, supervised by the Kenya Defence Forces Engineering Department. The goal? Make this the premier stadium for co-hosting the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations, shared with Uganda and Tanzania. The venue is soccer and rugby focused, athletics fields are separate, and because there's no running track, spectators get closer to the pitch, enhancing the fan experience. By February 2026, the stadium should be complete. Right now the build is about 2/3 done, though payment delays have sparked parliamentary scrutiny. 3. KenGen Floating Solar Power Station. The KenGen Floating Solar Power Station is a planned 42.5 megawatts floating solar PV plant to sit on the Kamburu Reservoir, complementing the existing 93 megawatts hydro plant. Construction is set to begin in late 2024, run for about 28 months, and wrap up by H2 2026. The pre-feasibility study was funded by the German Development Bank, KfW, with engineering support from Multiconsult, Norway. Financing is expected from KfW and potentially AFD, the World Bank, or other co-financiers. This is Kenya's first floating solar plant. Why water? Reservoirs reduce land use, improve solar panel cooling, and preserve hydro output at night. Daytime solar output means hydro water is conserved for peak demand evening generation. At 42.5 megawatts, it adds powerful capacity, enough to power tens of thousands of homes, and positions Kenya as a regional leader in hybrid renewables. With nearly 92% of Kenya's electricity already from renewables, geothermal, hydro, and solar, this project reinforces climate goals and energy resilience. 2. Mwache Multipurpose Dam. The Mwache Dam sits about 22 kilometers west of Mombasa, in Fulagani Village, Kwale County, on the Mwache River, servicing the Kwale and Mombasa coastal regions. It is part of Kenya's Coastal Region Water Security and Climate Resilience Program, Vision 2030 flagship, delivering water supply, irrigation, and climate resilience. This is an 87-meter-tall concrete gravity dam impounding 118 to 127 million cubic meters of water, plus upper and lower check dams, a water treatment plant, 186,000 cubic meters per day capacity, pumping systems, and 3 transmission mains feeding reservoirs. It supports irrigation of around 2,600 hectares and addresses water shortages affecting up to 80% of Kwale's daily water needs. The contractor is Sino Hydro Corporation and Engineering, China, under a 20 billion shillings, approximate $135 million, contract, co-funded by the World Bank and the Government of Kenya. Land compensation for about 4,000 affected persons had needed 4.4 billion shillings. Construction began in April 2023, and a 54-month timeline was set, pointing to completion by late 2027. Some reports expect operational readiness by early 2027. 1. Standard Gauge Railway, SGR, extension to Uganda and South Sudan. Kenya's flagship Mombasa-Nairobi SGR, Phase 1, 592 kilometers, opened 2017, handles cargo and passenger traffic at speeds up to 120 kilometers per hour and has the capacity to move 22 million tons annually. Now attention focuses on phases 2B and 2C, Naivasha-Kisumu, 267 kilometers, and Kisumu-Malaba, 135 kilometers, connecting to Uganda and beyond. Together these two legs cost approximate 645.7 billion Kenyan shillings, $5 billion. Phase 2B, Naivasha to Kisumu, is budgeted at 380 billion Kenyan shillings, $3.8 billion, and Phase 2C, Kisumu to Malaba, is KSH 169 billion, $1.69 billion. Contractor for both, China Communications Construction Company, CCCC, financed originally by China Exim Bank, though Kenya and Uganda are now exploring new funding from UAE and European banks. Kenya is closing in on funding and expects construction to start around September 2025. Uganda has also begun work on its domestic section, Malaba-Kampala, under a separate contract, Turkish Yapı Merkezi, €2.7 billion, due by mid-2028. The two countries jointly seek funding for Kenya's Naivasha-Malaba section and Uganda's Malaba-Kampala section, totaling at least $6 billion in new financing from Europe and the Middle East. Kenya's mega-projects in 2025 reflect vision and momentum. Together, these projects illustrate Kenya's multi-sectoral growth path. They match Kenya's Vision 2030 ambition. The projects are not just concrete and steel, they are vehicles of empowerment, engines of jobs, and pathways to prosperity. Thank you for watching this deep dive into Kenya's mega builds of 2025. Which one excites you most? Please feel free to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Until next time, stay curious.